All right, YouTube, how you doing? Welcome back to the channel. It is April 11th. We got ourselves a Thursday and 5 games on the NBA slate today. Like we always do when we go through each and every one of these games, I'm going to give you my lean on the spread. I'll give you my lean on the total. We'll talk about any other plays like player props that we like within the game as well. But as always, all of my final plays, so I'm actually rolling with myself, will be in the pinned comment. If you do want to fade me, if you think I'm a dummy, all my final plays will be in the pinned comment that you can do the opposite of. In terms of last night, we called it. We were spot on, completely right about the fact that we were probably jinxing ourselves because we were so cocky in celebration of 2 nights ago success. So, you know what? A 0-3 night. I know what you're thinking. I stink. 0-3 night. Paolo Banchero, he hits his over. The Magic get beat even without Giannis on the Bucks. And then the Timberwolves Nuggets probably was the only good look of the night. Like, that looked like it had a chance. Ultimately does not come through. So, bad night there. If you want to spin it in a glass half full perspective, our 7-1 night, even with these added in, 7-4 run. I'm not going to do some BS like that. But last night was a bad night, but it's not going to kill us. Still having a whopping NBA season. But let's get the vibes back up. We got the ride of the day coming through. Cha-ching for franchise here. His 3rd in a row. He had Jokic over 27.5 points. Jokic dropping, I think it was at 40 plus or something. Kind of hurt our under there, but nonetheless, he comes through yet again. 3rd in a row for the one franchise. So shout out to him, guys. If you don't know what the ride of the day is, use hashtag ride of the day in the comments. You got to use the hashtag or hashtag ROTD, and I'll be jumping on board with one person's play, giving you a shout out in the next video, win or loss. If you win, we continue to ride with your plays, just like franchise has done here in 3 straight videos. So looking forward to seeing what he is cooking up for today. It's not the best NBA slate. I think we can admit that, but are we going to get a bunch of good NBA slates, moving forward as we close the season? No. Guys are going to sit. Spreads are going to be high. Bad teams don't want to win. Good teams don't need to win. It is what it is, but you know what? Playoff basketball is right around the corner, and I'm very, very excited for that. We're going to be grinding our asses off with MLB in full swing, no pun intended, and playoff basketball bouncing around. Pun intended there. But let's jump into game number 1 here. Make sure you guys are subscribed and hitting that like button as well. That like button is your bookie right now, and he owes you money. He's not paying you because you've been cleaning him up. You got to head in there and force it and hit that like button. Hit him. Just like you hit the like button. All right, we got Detroit taking on the Bulls here in this spot right now. We got Detroit 9.5-point dogs at home. Total sitting at 220. This is a Detroit team that definitely doesn't really care about winning basketball. Last 10 games here, their only win was a single-digit win against Washington. Now, credit to them, they were dogs in that game, but and they win it outright. But they're going up against Chicago, who has also been really struggling. They've had definitely a better and harder, I guess, schedule or test, I should say, as of late. I don't necessarily think it's going to be an easy one for Chicago, but I don't think Detroit has any juice in this game or any reason to play, and Chicago is going to be a play-in team. Now, their standing in the play-in is not going to change based on this game or matter at all, right? But what you can make an argument for is they're going to want to kind of head into the playoffs in good spirits, in sort of good, I don't know what the word I'm looking for, but playing, well, right? So I think that this is a spot where Chicago does try and, essentially, and that's kind of all you can ask for some NBA games now at this point in the season. So I'm going to lean towards Chicago minus the 9.5 points, even though they are on the road. They've covered in 53% of their games on the road this season, so that's definitely a benefit. In terms of a total 220, your guess is honestly as good as mine in this spot. I'm going to lean towards the under because I think if Chicago plays their basketball, they'll just absolutely dwarf whatever the Pistons are trying to do, and Chicago's going to play slow, right? Mid to low pace in this spot. From a player prop perspective, I actually like Nikola Vucevic's under in rebounds, but we're going to kind of tweak it a little bit. So we can jump into the outlier screen here. Guys, if you don't know what outlier is, I'll have a 7-day free trial to this tool in the pinned comment. It's literally a goated player prop tool, but essentially what we're doing here is looking at Nikola Vucevic. Now, his normal line is 12.5. If you want to, go with the more, safe play. I like his under 12.5 rebounds. You could see he's only done that in 4 of his last 10 games heading over. Against the Pistons, he's actually stayed under this in 5 straight, right? And in 6 of his last 7 games. This is a Pistons team that if you want to give them credit for anything, at some points they will be able to rebound the ball. But realistically, what I'm looking at here is a spot in which over his last 10 games, he's averaging 18.3 rebound chances. In his last 5 games here, he's averaging 16 rebound chances. So you can't, I mean, he's due for like an 8 rebound game if you use those rebound chances as a measure there. But I like the idea of just going 1 rebound lower, under 11.5, and getting some plus money there. I don't think Outlier has ESPN bets linked in here, but I think you can get it for plus 120 on ESPN bets. So for plus 120, this seems like a almost like a steal of a pick. Like, no way that loses, right? I say that now. We went 0-3 yesterday, so we shall see. But I like Vucevic's under in rebounds today. I just don't necessarily see him needing to like bang around and whatnot. Like what is his reason for being aggressive and potentially getting hurt and that type of thing? So yeah, give me the under in his rebounds. All right, Celtics taking on the Knicks. I will be at this game. I'm also going to be at the Celtics game tomorrow. So if you're in the Boston area or you're going to this game, hit me up on Twitter or on Instagram. My Instagram is right here at EvPicks with a Z. My Twitter is at EvGuyBoston. Both those will be rotating throughout here. But yeah, if you want to say hi, you want to meet up, I'll be at this game with Paris, my lovely girlfriend, who had the ride of the day on her birthday and came up just shy if you guys were there for that. So yeah, if you guys want to come say hi, hit me up. We'll meet up. But this is a tough one because obviously I'm a Celtics fan, love the Celtics. They're probably not playing anybody tonight. Drew Holiday questionable, Jason Tatum questionable, Kristaps questionable, Jaylen Brown questionable, even Tillman and Horford are both questionable as well. And given the spread, the fact that the Celtics are at home getting points, I think that kind of tells where they are here. Now this is interesting too. This Knicks team, they're obviously going to be in the playoffs, but are they going to be a top 3 team, a top 4 team? Sort of the Knicks, Magic, and Cavs are all within about a game and a half of one another here. So I do think the Knicks kind of go balls to the wall and try and win this game. So unfortunately, I hate to do it. I don't think I'll be betting it myself just because I have more Celtics pride than that. I'll be at the game too. And honestly, who knows if these guys play? They're not listed as out yet. They're just questionable. But I think the Knicks probably is the move here. They are going to be trying the Celtics. If it's anything like we saw in that Bucks game, the Celtics have already been like, you know what? We have the 1 seed. We're not breaking any records, right, in terms of our record. So what is there to risk? Guys getting injured. So I doubt they play everybody, if not anybody on that injury report. And the Knicks, playing decent basketball. They beat Milwaukee outright. They beat Chicago by like 11 points. Jalen Brunson's going absolutely nuclear, so I'm excited to see him in person. Give me the Knicks here. I just don't know if we get to the counter and bet that ourselves. In terms of a total, this has got to be an under game, right? If the Knicks are going to play their basketball, it's got to be an under game. And I'm so ready, not ready, but like waiting for the Knicks to come back down to earth and play under basketball. Like this has been one of the highest over hit rate teams in the last month, maybe, probably not, maybe half of a month, 2-3 weeks or so, which is crazy because this is such a slow paced team. Usually they're just playing fast and scoring a lot of points, playing efficient. So yeah, it's interesting to see that, but I think this one goes under, especially if the Celtics, when we've seen the Celtics kind of turtle and not play their guys, like they'll put up 87, 95, that type of thing. So I'll lean towards the under in this spot as well. Player prop wise, nothing's jumping out at me. Like I would say, hey, ride on Brunson's over because I'll be there and it'll be fun to watch, but that line's just going to be super, super high. All right, moving on. We got the Jazz taking on the Rockets. Neither one of these teams going to make it into the playoffs, so curious to see how this game plays out. I honestly, initial gut reaction, lean towards the Jazz here at home. I don't believe in this Rockets team still. I understand there's probably a lot of people being like, well, but Ev, they proved you wrong against the Magic, and they did, right? Like they beat the Magic, so kudos to them. They beat them handily too as underdogs. But Utah, it's both of these teams have nothing to play for, so why would the Rockets try as hard as they can? And Utah has a lot of young guys that, though they're kind of out, right? Like I think Clarkson, Collins, Dunn, Kessler, I want to say even Sexton's out, Markkanen's out. Like all those guys being out, these guys that are playing George, Juzang, Sensabaugh, Yurt7, like these guys are going to want to probably try and prove themselves. So if it comes down to effort, I do think the Jazz have more effort. The problem is Houston has a way better squad. Like, you can barely recognize some of the Utah starters. You recognize all of Houston. So I understand it. I just don't like the 10 points. Like, I could see Houston winning this game by 8 points, leading by 8 the entire game, just not winning by double digits. So give me Utah, just because I think that some of these guys are going to be, looking to want to play. But like I mentioned, guys, like, truly, this point in the NBA season, you don't need to force squat. Like, I even felt like we forced games yesterday. We only had 3 final plays, right? So be weary of that. Like, I say Utah, and it makes sense, Utah. I don't think that this becomes a final play, and if it does, there's probably a lot that we looked into to say, okay, let's take the flyer on them, right? From a player prop perspective, I do have a player prop that I probably will get down in this game, and it's going to be because of odds. So it's a plus EV play that I'm liking right now. I don't mind the line, regardless of the value. But we're looking at Amen Thompson here, over 18.5 points plus assists. So he's only done that in 2 of his last 10 games. In fact, on the season, he's only done it in 11 of his 59 games. So it makes you question, like, why is that line up there, right? Well, probably because he's playing the Jazz, in which he's going to have a really good matchup there, terrible defensive team. And like I said, you can get this for some value over on Fanatics, plus 105. I don't mind this on other books, but for plus 105 on Fanatics, it's minus 121 average on most sports books. So definitely some value there. I'd second guess it and overthink it probably if we weren't getting plus money value, but for plus money for a guy that hasn't really touched this line, most books are saying that it's favored for him to go over this line. Fanatics clearly lacking behind and not updated on their pricing. We might pull the trigger on that bad boy. Portland taking on Golden State. This is another game in which I don't necessarily have too much interest in, but what else is new in the NBA right now? Portland, you barely know any of their starters. Steph Curry looks like he's going to play. Golden State in a spot in which I guess it matters what they do. Like, they're going to be a play-in team most likely, or not most likely, they're going to be a play-in team. They're only a half game back of the Lakers right now. Does that 9-10 spot matter? I think you're going to end up playing the Kings or the Suns. Like, probably does matter. Like, I'd much rather face the Kings in the play-in to start than the Suns. So, yeah, the Warriors probably do come to play here, but 14 points seems like a hell of a lot. That being said, like, I just can't really get to the Portland side of things. So I'll lean towards Golden State minus the points in this spot. The total sitting out, which I don't think we talked about the total in the Jazz game, did we? I like the over, by the way, in the Jazz game. But the total for this one, I'm going to lean towards the over. Like, I don't see Portland's defense being able to stop Golden State. And what I keep saying is my one concern with these Portland overs and the lack of defense is, can Portland put together, a decent night? Well, against Washington, then against Boston, then against New Orleans, 2 of those 3 teams have decent defenses. They put up triple digits. So if they can get to triple digits, I do think that hopefully, 105, maybe 110 if we're lucky. Golden State should have no problem scoring. They've scored 118 and 134 in their last 2 games. So that should be a good look there for a potential over. In terms of player props here, I mean, you're kind of just trying to, shoot a fish in a barrel, whatever the saying is. So I'm probably sticking away from player props in this one. All right, before we jump into this game, comment lucky number 13. Comment 13 in the comments if you are still watching. I will say, like, I can be transparent. I hate that this NBA season, not that this NBA season has gotten to this point, that every NBA season gets to this point, but it's part of the job. We got to look at these games. Sometimes there is value. We've had nights where we thought there's no value. We look throughout the day. Maybe we go live, talk with you guys about some plays, and all of a sudden we come up with like 4 plays that we really like, and we've ended up sweeping before. So it's not to say there's no value, but at an early morning glance, like we have right now, it's just not the best slate. Only 5 games. Few big spreads, right? Like, this is the only other decent spread. And even if you look at the 2.5 point spread of the Celtics Knicks, it's just because the Celtics are so good and all their starters might sit that's a 2.5 point spread, right? It's not like 2 good teams are playing if the Celtics sit all those guys. But we should have a decent one here. Pelicans, just a half game out of the play-in, so they should want to try. And the Kings, just a half game back of the 7 seed, being the top team in the play-in. So now all of a sudden you look at a game in which, okay, like, this should have, if this game doesn't have, playoff or guys wanting to play and stuff like that, then there's something wrong with both these teams. Now, Keegan Murray is a game time decision. Brandon Ingram and Malik Monk still out. Brandon Ingram on the Pelican side of things and Sacramento on the New Orleans side of things. It pains me to do. It really pains me to do because I don't like the Pelicans at this point, but I'm going to take a peek at the Pelicans here in this spot. I think that, them being out of the play-in, and wanting to remain out of the play-in means a little bit more than Sacramento being like, well, let's be the seventh seed in the play-in games versus the 8th seed. You know what I mean? Like there's a little bit more of a threshold and reason to play for the Pelicans here in this spot. And the Pelicans, 2 straight wins, one of those against Portland, whatever. They didn't even cover against them. But Sacramento has kind of been struggling. 5-5 in their last 10. They've lost 3 of their last 4, but their losses have been New York, Boston, and OKC. So if you're on Sacramento side of things, I think you can make an argument for why this should be a close game, but to me, it's just a little bit more of a reason to play for the Pelicans here. And now from a total perspective, I do think that this game goes over. I think Sacramento being favorites in this game, being at home, they're going to want to push the pace, which could hurt the Pelicans' spot. But just overall, I think the Pelicans will make stops when it counts, just not constant stops throughout the game. And 217 isn't all that high of a number, right? So I'll lean towards the over ever so slightly in this spot. And then I really don't have many player prop looks in this game either. I hate to keep saying that to you guys, but it is the case. I really don't mind looking at CJ McCollum. I think that he could be a type of guy that has a good game, because the Sacramento's not very good around the perimeter. They've actually been okay at the rim. So CJ McCollum, maybe points plus assists, or even just looking at his points or 3-pointers made, I think that this could be a good line. His 3-pointers made is super high at 4.5, but it's plus 132. So there's value all around. I'd probably, out of all of those, if I had to lean towards one, I'd look at points plus assists, because this is a guy that, not that it's common, but he could have a 7, 8, 9 assist night and really do some damage to that line. All right, guys, that's going to wrap for today's show. Hope you guys did enjoy it. If you did, you know what to do. Hit that damn like button. Hit that subscribe button. Appreciate everyone as we wind down the NBA season. I know some of these videos are more like, who cares? Who knows what to do? Blah, blah, blah. I'm just being honest. I don't want to come on here and sell you on a game that I'm not sold on, So, yeah, maybe it's better for views for me to act like the Bulls Piston. I have an absolute lock in that game. That just ain't me. I'm going to tell you what's in my brain, and you'll be able to know how confident I am by how I'm talking about it. But that's going to wrap it up for today's show. If you guys did enjoy, I'll catch you guys in the next one, all right? Peace out.